On Nnamdi Kanu's case, I had an interesting conversation with a lawyer. I would like you to take a listen. There is no law upon which the judge can actually try Nnamdi Kanu, which was what he kept reiterating in courts today. And he even reiterated that yesterday and previously. I think the other time he was in court, he challenged the judge to read the law to him, the law upon which he is being tried. So when you listen to him and when you see the trajectory that this case has gone on, what are your thoughts really? And do you think he's on the right track? Do you think he's doing the right thing as far as this case is concerned?
Yes, by way of a caveat, before I proceed, I have to make it known at this juncture that this matter is sub judice. However, it's a matter of national importance or even international importance. And having said that, while discussing this issue, I will try as much as possible not to delve directly into the bone of contention in court. I will try to the best of my powers to make general statements bordering on law, in which case I may be tempted to make a reference to instances without making particular reference to either the judge entertaining the matter or the person facing trial. Now, having said that also, I think I owe the public a duty to a great extent make truthful assertions, no matter whose ox is God. As a matter of fact, I don't have anything personal against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I have also taken note of some reservations being expressed by some persons about his activities. But to the best of my knowledge, in as much as you shouldn't take one's actions to justify the way you react. However, I think part of the crisis that bedeviled Igbo land, and even this issue has to do with the manner in which the former President Muhammadu Buhari handled the affairs of the Igbo nation. In other words, whether Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's activities were fueled by altruistic considerations or whether they were fueled by selfish or nefarious agenda. The most important point is that the late General Muhammadu Buhari, or is it President Muhammadu Buhari, with due respect to him, he's now of the past, but he didn't govern well as a leader. So it created room for the thriving of this particular agitation. Having said that, with due respect, in my opinion, I don't think the legal team or the consultants of Mr. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I don't think they are telling us the full truth as far as the issues of law, issues that have to do with law is concerned in this matter. Now, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu raised the question, and that question he said that under which law am I being tried? Now, let me now make a general comment. The general comment is this: in law, you cannot be brought to court to face criminal trial without being prosecuted pursuant to a law. I am aware that the federal government filed information. When I mean information, before you embark on the prosecution of a criminal case in court, you have to bring to the knowledge of the defendant the allegation you have against him in accordance with the law. You have to tell him the offense which he is alleged to have committed. And the particular provision or provisions of the law which he is deemed to have violated, for him to have opportunity of defending himself. Now, the legality of that law is a different issue altogether, because I know that the law upon which this trial is being prosecuted, being the Terrorism Act of 2023, there is a legal issue surrounding that law to a great extent, being that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the offense for which he is being prosecuted allegedly took place before the enactment of this particular law. However, we should know that before this particular law came into force, I hope I got the correct the year the current law was enacted. I know that we had the Terrorism Act of 2011. It was later amended in 2013, after which it was repealed. What I mean to repeal a law means to phase out the entire law, the old laws, for a new one to come into force altogether. As opposed to what we refer to as amendment. If a law is in existence and it's amended, it's an amended law. But if a law is repealed, it means that all things are passed away. They become new. Now, the alleged cause of action that gave rise to this criminal trial took place when the 2013 law was in vogue.
The one that is now repealed?
Repealed, yes. But there is a saving clause in the current law. That saving clause stipulates that any pending matter or what must have happened in time past before this law came into force, that they will not be deemed to have been done away with. That they still remain alive for the purpose of holding whoever accountable. Now, it's a constitutional issue. Constitutional in the sense that in law, laws jurisprudentially are not meant to be retrospective. Laws are meant to be futuristic. And in which case, especially in criminal jurisprudence, a defendant in a criminal matter is to be punished based on the punishment that pertains to a particular alleged commission of crime when it happened. For instance, if the law in Nigeria today is that anybody found guilty of committing the offense of Afri, as Afri 2 fighting, then appears that the punishment is, let's say, 1 month imprisonment. If I am back on Afri in this vicinity today, and then I'm charged to court, while that matter is pending, if that law is amended and the punishment is increased to, let's say, 10 years imprisonment, you cannot turn around. And now, if upon conviction, I say that they have to serve 10 years imprisonment, because as at the time that offense was committed, the punishment for it then was 1 year imprisonment. So why am I raising this issue? The question now is this: because the case has become somewhat complex as per the caliber of the pending charges against him, because I know that along the line some were struck out. Now the question is this: the punishment that pertains to the current charges that are pending in court against Nnamdi Kanu, I wouldn't know if those punishments are above those punishments stipulated under the repealed law. And I also know that under the repealed law, we have instances whereby if in the course of perpetrating an alleged act of terrorism, that same gave rise to the loss of human lives, the punishment, if I'm right, is either life imprisonment or that. I'm sure it's not less than life imprisonment, the punishment. And the same applies to the current law. So having said that, the question of Nnamdi Kanu asking the judge to let him know under which law that is being prosecuted, with due respect, to the best of my knowledge, that will be the highest anomaly in town for criminal prosecution to go on without there being a formal charge in place. The legality of that charge is a different issue, and I think that's what the court is trying to draw its attention to. That no problem that there's a charge against you, the legality of it or otherwise. In ordinary law, you can raise it during final address. That maybe when this law was enacted, that the so-called the cause of action had already accrued before this law came into force. That's a matter for address. So it's like a rhetorical question asking under which the law is there. A charge was read. Some of the counts of these of the charges brought against you have even been struck out. In other words, and these charges were framed pursuant to laws. And in these laws, reference we made to the venue where the incident took place, the time, the place, and the circumstances. And that's why even the issue of jurisdiction is coming up, territorial jurisdiction. And that's why Nnamdi Kanu is now arguing that you are not supposed to try him here in Nigeria, that the cause of action, that he was in the United Kingdom when the alleged cause of action accrued, even though there's also another side to it, because in law, the state is trying to argue that you are looking at the effect, the consequences of your actions. If actually you did certain, you made some utterances, that you made some pronouncements, we are looking at where the adverse effects of your utterances took place. And that's why even cases that whether criminal or civil cases that do take place within the territorial confines of Nigeria, at times you have interesting scenarios where you have overlapping of jurisdiction. The government may want to argue that even though that you made the pronouncements allegedly in the United Kingdom, because if you should ask me to speak like a lawyer, I mean, I tell you never can tell who was behind the Facebook page or whatever making pronouncements in this era of AI, artificial intelligence wonders, but that's a different issue anyway. Issues of law can come up, but basically the state can argue that the cause of action may enjoy dual territorial implications both in the United Kingdom and even here in Nigeria.